Up, the clock is ticking as the Kentucky General Assembly is quickly coming to an end. We'll bring you an update. We heard from the brother of a Harlan County murder victim in court yesterday. We have more on what he had to say. And an officer-involved shooting in Michigan leaves one dead and another seriously hurt.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 5:29 on Wednesday, March the 13th. I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning in to Mountain News This Morning. If you are looking for Brandon, he is frantically looking for his clicker, which if he can't find it is right in front of your screens right there, Brandon. But once you get to that, we can get into the weather. But what should people expect today as they head on out the door? You said it's going to be a little bit warmer, but there might be some rain too. That's right. You were telling on me and telling my stories there, but you're right. We could see a few spotty showers across the region today. But as we head over to the satellite radar for the last 6 hours, we're going to continue to see the possibility for, again, stray shower here and there. Most of the moisture off to our west, and we're going to continue to stay out. We're going to continue to see that stay off to our west, maybe to our north as we head through the daytime hours. Coffee, come on, start working. McKee this morning, we take a look downtown, not too much going on there overnight. Quiet start to the day on this Wednesday. Temperatures all over the board this morning. 34 Hazard, 39 Pikeville, 40s in Jackson, over toward the Cumberland Valley as well, out toward Lake Cumberland. Today, a lot above average. 68 our forecast high, average is 56. The record of 82 set back this day in 1990. The rest of the forecast on the way here in just a few minutes. We will come back to you for the rest of that forecast, Brandon. Thank you. Well, the clock is ticking on some key bills in the Kentucky General Assembly. There's only 3 days left to consider bills, and 2 of those days are this week. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on what is bringing a lot of teachers to the state capitol to watch some of the final work being done on an issue that they say impacts public education.
Teachers say with the legislature winding down, they will not back down in their effort to send a loud and clear message to lawmakers. And there are all kinds of maneuvers, like there could be a shell bill, and they are allowed to slip some legislation into that. And, you know, there's a lot of ways they can manipulate the procedure. That happened last year when a pension overhaul became part of a sewage bill. It was later overturned and a special session failed to produce legislation. Now with the regular session only having 3 days left, can a pension bill still happen?
I don't think that there will be anything addressing a global pension reform, as I've said all year long. I think that we have to acknowledge that it's going to be very difficult to get consensus during a short session. 2 other bills have drawn the ire of teachers this year. One deals with tax credits for private school scholarships, called the School Choice Bill. Another would restructure the way people are elected to the Board of Trustees for the Teacher Retirement Board. That bill was approved in committee, but has not been called up for a full House floor vote. I'm not willing to proclaim it dead at this point because they're still working on it, but it's getting very, very difficult to pass anything at this juncture of the session. There's been sick outs and some districts have closed so that teachers can follow the process. Others say their districts are sending groups of educators to sit in on the various meetings. Absolutely. I think we've made a difference being here, going to all the committee, as many committee meetings as possible, not necessarily for education because sometimes they may slip one on in A&R. Thursday is the final day this week to consider legislation before the veto break. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, lawmakers did vote to amend their calendars so that they will have an extra day this week to consider legislation. They will come back for their final day on March 28th, which is traditionally a day to consider gubernatorial vetoes. Well, starting June 26th, you can concealed carry in Kentucky without a permit. Governor Matt Bevin signed the bill into law Monday. Once the law takes effect, anyone over 21 who can legally own a gun will be able to carry it concealed. The National Rifle Association-backed bill was opposed by the state's Fraternal Order of Police.
There were some key components in the concealed carry class with regards to how to interact with law enforcement, as well as some other training.
While you will be able to carry concealed with no permit, law enforcement supporters still suggest clear communication when interacting with police to avoid any issues. Now, a Kentucky House committee skipped over a bill to allow big legal cases to be redirected away from a circuit judge in Frankfort. Senate President Robert Stivers told reporters that his proposal is on life support with a handful of days left in the legislative session. The bill reflects concerns from some lawmakers that circuit judges in Franklin Circuit Court wield too much power in deciding cases of statewide consequence. Meanwhile, a bill banning tobacco at schools is moving forward out of the House. Right now, more than half of Kentucky school districts do not have a ban. House Bill 11 does give schools 3 years to opt out of the law if it passes. The bill now goes to the Senate. Well, here's a look at some of the other bills that are still hanging out there. Senate Bill 57 would expand the number of low-level felons who can apply to have their records expunged. It was supposed to be on the orders of the day yesterday. A House committee approved a bill to legalize medical marijuana last week. House Bill 136 has not gone any further than that this session. And at last check, the sports betting bill is stuck in a House committee. House Bill 175 had bipartisan support. There is no guarantee any of these bills will come up in the last days of the session. Well, President Trump's signature makes a project 20 years in the making a reality. Mill Springs Battlefield is becoming a national monument. The historic Civil War battlefield has 900 acres spanning Pulaski and Wayne counties. Congressman Hal Rogers was invited to the White House yesterday for the signing ceremony. And customers of a fast food restaurant location in Southwest Virginia may be one of the hundreds affected by a 2017 customer data breach. According to a class action lawsuit, the breach targeted the Sonic location on Commonwealth Drive in Norton. Customers who paid with a card between April and October of that year could be affected. Sonic continues to deny all claims made in the suit. Well, the CEO of Wells Fargo told Congress yesterday the nation's fourth largest bank has cleaned up its act after years of scandals affecting millions of their customers. Tim Sloan faced a grilling from legislators during the hearing Tuesday. A representative from the bank's mortgage division for Minneapolis told a different story, however.
I have to say that I don't agree. The culture there is pretty toxic and pretty stressful.
Sloan will return to Capitol Hill in the next couple of weeks with other big bank CEOs for more testimony. Well, let's get back into some local news now. The brother of a man on trial for murder testified in the case Tuesday. Shelby Shell is accused of killing former Everett's Mayor Ronnie King in 2013 and then setting his house on fire. The trial started Monday, and we've already heard from police and state medical examiners. But it might be the testimony of Shell's own brother that could determine whether a jury finds him guilty. He said Shell confessed to the murder.
He says, I just want you to know something, Holmes. He said, I'm a real kid, and that's when he pulled the pistol out.
The trial will continue later this morning in Bell County. A police officer is in the hospital, and the suspect is reportedly dead after a shooting Tuesday in Michigan. Officers were called to the east part of Kalamazoo Tuesday morning after reports of shots fired. News outlets in the area report the officer was shot before police returned fire, killing the shooter. We are told the officer's injuries are not life-threatening. And firefighters battled a massive fire that raged for several hours Tuesday night in an apartment building in Yonkers. The fire broke out on the top floor of a 6-story building. More than 100 firefighters from several city agencies battled the blaze that continued to burn out of control. The top floor collapsed as the fire ravaged the building's roof. So far, there are no reports of injuries. Red Cross officials say about 150 people have been displaced. Well, warmer weather brings new concerns in Martin County, and your children could be the ones at risk. Officials say people have found used needles at multiple spots, including public parks. Sheriff John Kirk says he would like to crack down on those using needles in public, but he doesn't have the manpower to do it.
It's a sad thing. It's my job as sheriff. It's my job to try to intervene here, but with resources we have, it's only going to get worse.
If you find needles, you can bring them to the sheriff's office or a doctor's office where they have a proper disposal box. Sheriff Kirk suggests putting them inside a bottle so no one can be pricked. Well, spring break for college students is often a time to go to the beach and soak up the sun for a week, but not for a group of students from St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia. They spend their spring break in Appalachia serving the region. I met up with a group of them yesterday in Hazard. The sound of air guns echo through the crisp morning air.
It's not a us and them thing, we're all one person.
Sophie Talarita and a handful of her friends are out in 15 locations in Appalachia as part of their spring break.
We just get to run into a lot of community members, which is really interesting because we get to talk to them about who's been here for a while and get to understand how long people have been here and why they stay or why they leave.
This is Sophie's fourth trip to Appalachia. Her group's facilitator, Sean Linehan, is making his sixth trip to the mountains.
It's just a really cool experience every single time in different places, different states.
The purpose of the trip is to learn about the region and serve. And for both of these veterans, their answers are the same. When asked about why, they enjoy coming to the mountains.
The hospitality is a big thing. People are just super welcoming of our presence and want to learn about what we're doing and why we're here. And
how great the people are. I think that's really the coolest thing, kind of taking a step away from the city and just really hearing the stories that we hear.
And they're stories they will likely remember throughout the rest of their lives. Now, the group is part of the Appalachian Experience, or APEX, at St. Joseph's University. They'll be in town through the end of the week. Well, coming up, a birthday prank in Florida is making some national headlines. We will tell you what led to one man getting thousands of well wishes from random strangers.
If today is your birthday, the weather should at least be fairly nice, at least temperature-wise. If your special day is tomorrow, well, all bets are off. I'll have your forecast in about 3 minutes.